So, I wanted to get my global neon rank into the top 3,000 of global players before I made this video. I gotta say, the competition really dies off as the game keeps going. Like, my best placement in a level in the first two whole missions, my best placement is like top 3,000. But in later missions, I've got a bunch of like top 500 times. Neon White is one of those games that makes me kind of question like what the point of a game review is logically. You know, there are a lot of games where with methods of consumption that are difficult to quantify or assign praise to. Like, I don't know how to review a fighting game because competitive matches with other players are inherently fun. Humans create the competition, and the competition is fun. Everything I can point out that impacts my enjoyment of a fighting game seems trivial in comparison to the inherent fun of fighting in any fighting game. Speedruns are in a similar ballpark. What if I think a game is mediocre, but it's really fun to speedrun? I think most games, there is some way you can bastardize it and create some sort of rule set that is fun or is challenging and competitive. Do I review it as most people play it, or do I review it as a speed game separate? What if it's more leaning towards some sort of competitive, or what if it's not? Neon White is one such speed game, which is obviously built for speed competition. As I kept playing, I got more and more exhausted by the game, by playing each new level, doing all the side dialogues, the side quests and such. I think if you just play the game to beat it, just like get to the credits, the game is kind of not super fun. Kind of mediocre? I feel bad for even using that kind of term because there's nothing I think is really bad in the game. I just personally consume most media in one of four categories. I think it's consumable, kind of dull and not consumable, I hate it, or I love it. Most things to me are just like fine, or fine but not really worth my time, you know? I have no stronger feelings and feel no need or want to point out anything more detailed than just, yeah, it's fine, it can be consumed, you know, you're not bored when you're watching it. With Neon White, I think the side content just isn't paced in the right way or something. Like, I like all of the characters, the interactions are charming and all that, but I was never hooked or riveted enough to keep watching any of the side content enough to motivate me to that end, for that purpose. So it felt more like an obligation to complete all of the side shit until I could go back to running levels in the actual gameplay. And even then, playing the new levels, learning the new stages, the new routes, mechanics, etc., was also kind of a drag. Like, the game's core fun factor is found in optimizing your speed on a given level, not learning a new one. When you're just doing the same stage over and over and over again, getting slightly better times, figuring out a slightly better route, that's where the game shines the best. One thing I really love, beyond just the world's competition stats that appear once you hit ace rank for any given level, is that every level has an extra secret ace rank. Every level has some hidden time that you're not privy to, that once you get it, you get this rich scarlet colored badge in place of your diamond ace badge. These secret badges really fucking push you to the brink. I only have a handful of them, and I still place in the top 3,000 players overall. By contrast to the super fun competitive speed side of things, you have, say, looking around each level for a hidden gift box. I think this sucks. I actually started really hating this as the game went on, because the time stuff is about grit and creativity and application, whereas finding gifts hidden in a level is more just about stumbling across it after exploring for a certain amount of time. The game is not built for that kind of exploration. Your movement options in each level are on a limited resource, so you only have a few movements you can make to explore some section of the level to look for these stupid fucking things before you have to restart from the beginning of the level. It's just not engaging gameplay, and it wastes a lot of time, and the game would honestly be better if you just looked up a guide for where to find all the gifts in each level. Similar with the side quest levels, I found them less and less fun as the game went on. At first, Violet's side quests were harder to clear, at least, than the main game levels, and they seemed like they'd offer fun twists on the normal mechanics. But unfortunately, most of the side quest levels are very linear in a way that makes them kind of unfun. They're very straightforward and very limiting. They were pretty boring for me to clear out. And they're also not set up in the same kind of time way. You don't get ranks for them. So, all in all, a super fun competitive speed game with other content that isn't bad, but you just rather be grinding more runs and getting your times down even faster. And I feel like anything that isn't doing that can be kind of a drag. If you just play to beat the levels and beat the game, I don't think it's very engaging. I wouldn't say it's bad, but I would categorize it in that kind of not engaging enough for me to really care about completing it kind of game, if not for the speedrunning. Like I said, you shouldn't take that too harshly from me. Most video games for me fall under the not engaging enough for me to care about it category. You know, like I'd play it if I had nothing better to do. I just find it a bit dull and I don't really want to do it. As a speed game, I have no complaints though. Early on, I felt like it was kind of weird that your basic movement has no nuance to it. Your base walk speed is your top speed without cards or without water, surface, anything like that. But as I kept playing, I found that routing possibilities and precise, quick aiming was usually more important for optimizing your times. The game also has a lot of flexibility in most levels. Your routing possibilities are sometimes only limited by how quickly you can aim between movements. Like, theoretically, you might be able to go straight from this platform to this platform, but you'd have to precisely shoot these enemies to make sure you get them before you move on, and it would just take a lot of dedication to do that route, you know? There's a lot of fun different mechanics and level structures as the game goes on as well. Initially, I didn't like the levels where you just keep using like card after card after card, carving through enemies or whatever, but I got more enjoyment out of those types of levels as the game kept going, and there's a lot of diversity, so it's not like the whole game was made up of that. I almost never had visual clarity issues. Everything in the game is really clean, really minimalistic. There's no giant particle effects that are blocking your eyesight. It feels good to do runs. I will say, I wish the menus, I wish the level select menu was a bit more intuitive and a bit faster paced. Some menu trifles, you know, like if you accidentally start some level that begins with a cutscene, you can't pause and exit it until you complete the cutscene. I wish selecting a level was as quick as just pressing a button, pull up the menu, just boop boop boop, go to the level you want. But there's a lot of loading that goes on between each changing of menu or going from a level to the level select. I also found that my character's hitbox was a bit weird. I feel like most first-person games have your character's hitbox reach further behind you than how it is in this game. I don't know, like every time I would barely go over, like something goes underneath my vision, I could no longer touch it. I felt like I was barely passing over like a balloon or a card, and I trusted I would fall onto it. I trusted my body was there behind the camera, but it just didn't connect. It just felt kind of weird. But yeah, I love the button layout, the default button layout in this game. I think more platforming games need to take this kind of approach. Face buttons kind of blow for platforming. Putting all of the important actions on shoulder buttons is much better and much better for your hands to be able to access everything quickly. Well, that's all I can think to comment on. If you have any interest at all in grinding runs to get faster times, I would recommend Neon White. Easy.